The desert rose in silence that morning, as though the world itself had paused between breaths. A pale sun climbed over the mesas, painting the horizon in bruised streaks of purple and gold. Dust lifted in faint curls with each hoof fall, and Nakai rode as if the land itself had claimed him. He was not young anymore. The lines at his eyes were carved deeper than the canyons, the years heavy with both battles fought and a grief that clung like smoke to his chest. Around his neck hung a silver and turquoise necklace, his daughter's once. He touched it as a man might touch a scar, always aware, never healed. She had been Clara, bright as river water under summer light, a child who had once run laughing through pines. Then she was gone, taken in a raid, swallowed by the dust of war and cruelty. Years had passed, but Nakai's nights never changed. Always he dreamed of her face. Always he woke with the silence of her absence. Far from those memories, the town was stirring awake. Wooden shutters slapped against the wind, boots clattered on the boardwalks, gossip carried in voices sharper than saw blades. Into this place of judgment walked Evelyn Carter, hollow-eyed, her steps weak as if each one cost her more than she had left to give. Her dress clung with dust, the hem torn, her hands chapped raw. She carried only a satchel frayed from years of wandering and the necklace that gleamed faintly against her chest. The town looked on her not with mercy, but with suspicion. Martha Ellison, heavy with self-righteousness, hissed to the woman beside her. "Look at her, ragged as a stray dog, and bold enough to walk right down Main Street." A boy laughed, pointing. A man spat into the dirt. Sheriff Boone, leaning against the post outside his office, narrowed his eyes. "Best you keep moving," he told her as she paused before him. "This town don't have room for beggars." Evelyn lowered her gaze. Her lips parted as if to ask for water, but Boone's face hardened, and the words died in her throat. The saloon doors swung wide as she neared, a faint smile trembling on her face at the thought of warmth inside. But the barkeep spotted her, and with a sharp motion, slammed the door shut. The wood reverberated in her chest like a blow. She walked on, past the feed store, past Martha's watchful stare. Her hunger gnawed at her insides until it bent her posture, and she pressed her palm over her belly to still its cries. At the edge of town she found the trough, scraps floating on the water's surface. She knelt, trembling, scooping the softened crumbs, but a stone struck her shoulder. A boy's laughter rang out. "Scavenger!" She turned her face away, too tired to answer. That night, Evelyn curled against a barn wall, the cold pressing in. Stars stretched endless above, but she had no comfort in them. Her hands found the necklace at her throat. She touched it as though it were life itself. Silver, turquoise, small glimmers in the moonlight. She whispered, "Don't leave me too." And her voice broke on the wind. By dawn, Nakai had ridden into town. Dust swirled around his horse's hooves as he dismounted, his presence cutting through the morning like a blade. Men muttered. Women pulled their children close. "Apache," someone hissed. He ignored them, his gaze fixed straight ahead, his stride measured. He bartered for supplies with a quiet dignity, speaking little, the stairs sliding off him like arrows against stone that he turned to leave, his eyes scanning the street one last time. And then he froze. In the dust. Collapsed near the watering trough, lay a woman. Her hair was tangled, her face pale with hunger, her body trembling in weakness. And around her neck, the glint of silver and turquoise. His breath stopped. The necklace that Nakai's heart lurched back through time. The world swam in memory. Clara's laughter by the river, Clara's small hands clutching his as she wore that necklace for the first time. The way she had smiled, proud and unknowing that the world could be cruel enough to take her. Now here it was, gleaming against the throat of a stranger. Nakai knelt beside the woman. She stirred faintly, her eyes half opening. Fear flickered there as she whispered hoarsely, Don't take it. It's all I have." Her hand rose weakly to guard it, but she had no strength. His hand hovered over the necklace, trembling, torn between fury and disbelief. How could she, how dare she, were what belonged to his blood? Yet as he studied her, something in her gaunt face pulled at the deep wound within him. The crowd had gathered, whispers slicing the air. "Look at him, stealing from a white woman. That Apache's up to no good." Sheriff Boone shoved through, hand on his gun. "Step away, Nakai." Evelyn's eyes fluttered closed. She sagged into the dust fully, breath shallow. The necklace slipped free into Nakai's palm. He stared at it, the world tightening around him, the murmurs growing louder. Silver and turquoise burned in his hand like fire, and for the first time in years, Nakai felt his heart stagger with impossible hope and unbearable fear. The barn smelled of hay and rain-soaked wood when Evelyn opened her eyes again. Light slanted through the cracks in the boards, falling across her face in soft stripes. For a moment, she did not know where she was. Then the taste of broth on her lips told her someone had fed her. Her hand flew instinctively to her chest. The necklace was still there, its silver warm against her skin. Across the room, two men sat in silence. One was the rancher Thomas Hale, his broad shoulders bent as he polished a bridle. The other was the Apache, the stranger who had carried her from the dirt. His eyes were fixed on her, dark and steady, as if searching for something beyond her flesh. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. Before she could speak, Thomas set aside the bridle and rose. "You'll stay here till you find your feet," he said quietly, his voice even as the land itself. "Don't mind Boone or the rest. They see a storm where there's only wind." He placed a bowl of stew in her hands, the warmth seeping into her fingers. Evelyn lowered her eyes, whispering a thank you, though the shame of her weakness burned her cheeks. Nakai still had not moved. His gaze remained locked on the necklace, and when she felt it, Evelyn's arms folded over it protectively. It was given to me," she murmured, as though accused. Nakai's voice came low, like distant thunder. "I know that necklace. It belonged to my daughter." The words struck the air heavy between them. Thomas looked from one to the other, waiting. Evelyn shook her head, frightened. "I don't know your daughter. I swear it. I had nothing but this when they found me, after the wagons burned." Her eyes clouded with memory, her voice quaking. "A woman pressed it into my hand as she died. She said it belonged to a child once loved." Nakai closed his eyes, pain etched into every line of his face. The truth cut both ways. Perhaps his Clara had perished that night, and yet here before him sat a woman who carried her last memory, the necklace that had outlived her. He looked at Evelyn again, and in her hunger-softened features, in her eyes that refused to die though the world tried, he felt a question stirring. Was she only a stranger, or something more? Days passed at Thomas Hale's ranch. Evelyn worked to earn her keep, though her hands were clumsy with tools and her body frail from hunger. She mended fences with trembling fingers, carried water, gathered eggs. She moved always with the air of one expecting rejection. But Thomas said little, only stepping beside her to take the heavier pail or showing her, without judgment, how to twist the wire tighter. Nakai watched, teaching her small things in silence. How to braid rope, how to read the wind in the grass at night. Evelyn lay on the cot in the ranch house, staring at the rafters. Her thoughts circled endlessly around the Apache's eyes, that unbearable mixture of sorrow and recognition. She did not know what he saw in her, only that his presence both frightened and steadied her. Yet the town had not forgotten. Gossip spread like fire through dry brush. Martha Ellison's voice carried loudest. The Apache claims her as his kin. The rancher harbors strays. Shameful, the both of them. By the week's end, Sheriff Boone rode out to the ranch, his hand heavy on his revolver. "You've taken in a beggar," Boone barked to Thomas. "And worse, you've let her consort with him." He jerked his chin toward Nakai, who stood silent at the fence line. "This ends tonight. She leaves, or I'll see her dragged out." Evelyn stood frozen, heart pounding. All her life had been flight, from wagons burning, from cruel hands, from towns that shut doors. She almost stepped forward then, ready to surrender, to run once more before the lawman's wrath. But Nakai moved first. He stepped into the yard, calm as stone, and in his hand he held the necklace. The air seemed to tighten as the townsfolk, gathered behind Boone, leaned closer. Nakai's voice carried low but sure, rising with each word. "This is not hers to steal. It was my daughter's. My Clara." His eyes lifted, the pain in them naked. "Raiders came. They took her from me. Years I searched. Years I prayed. I found no body, no grave. Only silence. Now this woman wears what was my child's. You ask me to turn away, but how can a father turn from the last echo of his blood?" The crowd hushed. Boone's jaw tightened. Martha muttered, but her voice faltered. Thomas stood by Evelyn, His hand resting steady on her shoulder, Evelyn's lips trembled. Tears welled until the yard blurred. Her voice broke as she spoke. I am not your Clara. I cannot be. But I can honor her, if you let me. I will not run from the weight of it. I'll carry it until my last breath, for her. The thunder of a storm rolled across the sky, breaking open with rain. Drops fell heavy on dust, on faces tilted upward. Nakai bowed his head, rain mixing with the tears he did not hide. Slowly, he stepped forward, pressing the necklace back against Evelyn's chest. You are not her, he said softly. But you are what remains of her in this world. I call that enough. Boone muttered a curse, but the moment had shifted. The townsfolk, stilled by Nakai's grief and Evelyn's trembling strength, turned away in silence. Boone spat into the mud and rode off, his authority diminished. The storm passed as quickly as it had come, leaving the ranch bathed in silver light. Evelyn stood in the yard, drenched, trembling, but she did not feel the cold. Thomas's hand lingered on hers, silent promise in the touch. Nakai looked at them both, and for the first time in years, the weight on his chest eased. At dawn he rode away, the horizon swallowing him. His spirit lighter than it had been since Clara's laughter last filled his ears. His lips moved in a prayer no one else heard. I found her. Not you, my child, but your echo. And that is enough. Back at the ranch, Evelyn and Thomas worked side by side. No words of love were spoken, none needed. In the brushing of hands, in the quiet comfort of labor shared, something new began to grow. And the narrator's voice, soft, like wind through pines, rose one last time. Life does not return what it takes. But sometimes, along the trail, it leaves us a gift. Not the face we lost, but the echo. Not the life we dreamed, but the chance to begin again. And if we open our hearts to it, even the starving, even the broken, may carry the necklace of our salvation. The screen fades to Evelyn and Thomas framed in the golden light of evening. Nakai a shadow in the far distance, his figure swallowed by horizon and memory. The necklace glimmers once more, not as a relic of sorrow, but as a promise that love, in one form or another, endures.